Hello, Robbie Strike here today with Show and Tell, and today I would like to show and tell the Atari Lynx portable color video game system, which came out in 1989, and I think I got this thing maybe Christmas 1990-91 from Santa Claus. And let's take a look at what's inside the box. I haven't actually opened this in quite some time. I don't really play video games a whole lot anymore. I did, being a child of the 80s and 90s. So I have tons of games in here. I have Miss Pac-Man port. I had a ton of Miss Pac-Man ports for Atari computers and various other computers. I have the game Road Blaster, which is like a car racing, kind of like a Spy Hunter maybe game. Well, it's 3D. And here are the cartridges. Not Spy Hunter, but Road Blaster was one of the later ones. So they had the easier to pull out tab cartridges. Paperboy, which is a port for it. There's the Gates of Zendokan. Kind of the ship in this picture in the artwork looks like something like from the Defender artwork game, and it's kind of the side scroller ship game, blowing up everything game. It has shields. Even has like a really lousy picture of the LED display on the back of it. There's a Rampage. And this game says it can play 1 to 4 players, links up, which I never had any friends that owned this thing. I never knew anyone else who owned this thing when I got this. Everyone had Nintendo. I was the only Atari fanboy I knew, and I had this. But no one else had this in 1991. So I never used the link feature, and I think it would have had to been someone who had the same game as well. This is one game I ordered years later off the internet. No, or is it probably a news group? Just sort of exchanged it. Pit Fighter. And I like this because I always liked wrestling games, but I don't believe there was any wrestling games for the Atari Lynx. Another thing is with the manuals. The manuals were kind of in black and white. There was no color to them, as the system did not do well. I think if I ever bought any in the stores or looked at Lynx games in the stores, it was only Toys R Us that I ever seen this system. Oh, and here is the Lynx. My 1991 Atari Lynx. I don't know if there's a game still in it. There is a game in it. So the games would come out here. You open up this little door for the original Lynx model. And I actually have Paperboy in there, so I probably have, in the Paperboy box, I probably have, if there is a game in there. No, there isn't. Oh, there is one. It's down in there. There's a couple games actually in here that I don't have boxes for, because the packing game was California Games, and it didn't come with a box. And another packing game, or it came with it, I guess, when we got it, it was Blue Lightning. So I don't have a box for that, but I have the game. And I think it's very common for people to have the game but not the box for Blue Lightning. So I kept, over the years, I kept a few of the old video game magazine strategy guides, newspaper clippings. I did have a manual for Blue Lightning, though. I didn't have the box, but I did have the manual. What else did I have? Manual for California Games. Kind of in black and white. There's a black and red, I guess is what they printed it onto. And the never used ever Comlink cable, which maybe I can hook it up to some sound equipment because of the little pins there. Like maybe my walkie-talkie headphone jack, or like a cell phone headphone jack. What else do we have in here? Batteries, the power supply. Unfortunately, I don't have the power supply because growing up we had bunny rabbits. And the bunny rabbits ate my power cord to my Atari Lynx. So here's a shot of the back of the Atari Lynx box. It has a little bit of description of the game. It has some pictures of the packing game, California Games. It has a picture of the Lynx. Actually, I have a bit of a different model Lynx, because my Lynx doesn't have the black buttons. It's all kind of the same color. And then you have the picture of the happy family. They all went out and got like $200 Atari Lynxes each, just so they all can link together and play together as a happy family. Yeah, right. As if that really ever happened. And we have the more information on the side here. The power supply information, serial number, and then it has the extra games that you can get for your Atari Lynx. There's Blue Lightning, which I said came in the box, The Gates of Zendikon or whatever, Electric Cop, and Rampage by Bailey. Both games are made by Epyx, which is some of the people who worked on the original Commodore Amiga, started up that company. This is the back bit. Oh yeah, and I'll show you the ports. So it has the volume, the headphone jack, the comm link, which I never used, and the power supply, which you can use a universal power supply, but this is like just the pinhole for this. I did used to use that back in the day, but the problem was I never had the right size, so I always had one that fit and worked, but if I moved it, the game would just go into reset after Bunny Rabbit, Thumper the Bunny, chewed on the cable. And then there's the brightness knob right there. So we're going to try firing this thing up after decades. Actually, I did have it running a couple of years ago. Someone was interested in buying it off me, and then they Kijiji'd me. Is that kind of a word for when people stand you up and don't show up to buy your Kijiji item? Typical. So it takes 6 AA batteries, AA Arn Anderson batteries, and hopefully these batteries still work. Since I tested it last, I probably should, because I haven't really put anything in. I'm going to put the packing game, because we've seen that one a lot. I hope I don't have to clean it out, because I've never cleaned it out. I'm just going to zoom in on the Lynx a bit. And now to play this and get a screen capture is brutal, I'll tell you. Yeah, there's that backlit screen. Epyx presents California Games. And then here comes the Louie. And there's like a line in the screen. I thought this was the coolest intro when I saw this as a kid. Just the flipping license plate with the game, with the things going. Because I went from maybe a friend had an Atari we had a Nintendo, but it just, this is the first 16-bit system, and it just was a little shade better. Now, whoops, hit the tripod. Now, see if I can play this. I can't really see it too well, and that's what happens in this game a lot. I don't know if I can turn the brightness so I can see it better. There we are. You can see it on the screen there. I made the jump. So the backlit screen, I've seen videos where people have changed these things on YouTube, which is an awesome and beautiful thing, because this was like early LCD screen technology for a portable device. Like, this is one of the first ones I ever seen. And there was portable TVs back in the day that did the same thing, and they weren't the greatest quality. I mean, I'm not a great game player, so I'm just showing you, hey, this thing still works. It works pretty good, except for not having the power supply. I hold on to this because, I'd love to show my kids this someday. They can play video games on it, and they probably think it's primitive and I'm an old man, but this is what I grew up with, and I loved it. I dreamt about this. I dreamt about all the games that I could play with it.